Why would you want transgender people in your society? Why would it benefit a culture or a nation or a species to have members of its population experience the world differently from the majority? Well, it all has to do with evolution. For most of this planet's history, evolution was an extremely slow process of tiny little incremental chemical changes in an individual organism's DNA being passed on to the next generation when it reproduced. And if those tiny little changes benefited that offspring and its ability to thrive and dominate its environment and have more little offsprings of its own, well, those little changes stack up over time. And before you know it, you have one species moving into another environment, adapting to it, and becoming an entirely different species. But it's a slow process. It takes tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions of years for these changes to occur. Until we came along. And humans were not alone in this. There were surely species before us, and there's species with us today who do it too, but nobody does it bigger or better than we do. Nobody does culture like we do. Humans thrive on sharing information with one another, not just across generations through chemical changes in our DNA, but through spoken language and understanding. We come up with new ideas, we pass them on to not just our offspring, but our peers and our families and all other members of our social group, and they all benefit from the new information, and we thrive together. That's what allows humans to dominate. This is why we own this planet. For all our faults and all the things we do wrong, our strength undoubtedly has always lied in our ability to come up with new ideas and adapt to new situations. So within that paradigm, why is it useful to have transgender people in your society? Well, when you're making bets, it's good to have a lot of sure bets. It's good to have the majority of your population all see things kind of the same way, more or less. It's going to create a relatively cohesive environment where, you change at very slow rates and you adapt to your environment, and it's okay. But if you really want to break on through, if you want to take things to the next level, if you don't want to stagnate, if you need to break through a puzzle that nobody else is solving, maybe you're going to need a fresh perspective. Maybe you need to take a chance on something different. You want to have a certain percentage of your population see things differently, experience things differently, think about things differently. You want people who experience their gender differently, people who experience sexual attraction and romantic attraction differently. People who see literally with their eyes differently, or who hear differently, or don't hear. People who experience their bodies differently. People who just think differently. It's not just LGBT people I'm including here. I mean neurodivergent. I mean people with autism, ADHD, OCD, and even mental illness, depression, schizophrenia. All these things are different ways of seeing the world. It doesn't mean we don't make accommodations for these people. In fact, we need to make accommodations for these people. We need to make everyone in our society capable of thriving as best they can, because their unique perspective on the world will eventually pay off. Somebody in your long shots is going to come up with something interesting and original that nobody else would have ever come up with. All your normies, of course, y'all got ideas. Not saying that cishet people or neurotypical people don't have amazing ideas, but you're all going to come from it, approach problems from the same place, more or less. And you need to approach problems from different angles if you want to solve them, especially extremely complex problems. You need to get fresh perspectives on things. And that's why we exist. It's built into the human DNA to have a certain percentage of the population be different in varying ways. That was selected for by natural selection. Within our cultural selection of sharing ideas, natural selection is still working on the human species. And any DNA that would cause an individual to be different in some way, and then that difference pays off for the social group, oh yeah, that's going to get passed on, because they're going to thrive and they're going to have kids, and all those little incremental chemical changes that make people different, they get passed on. And everyone thrives. So this is why it's so important to listen to minorities, to people on the fringes of society, to people who are considered outsiders. And it's important that we not think of people who are different as a burden on society, because in fact we are not. We can help. If you will listen to us, if you will give us a chance, if you'll let us thrive, if we make a society that accommodates everybody, all of our members, not just the ones that it's convenient to accommodate, but if we accommodate everyone who's here to help and wants to help, oh, we're going to thrive. We're going to have so many new ideas. It's going to make a better society if we make society better for everyone. I've been working through these ideas myself for a while now, and organizing my thoughts and putting them down into a video like this, that whole process has really been like the first time that I've really truly consistently felt good about being transgender. My whole life I've gone feeling like there's something wrong with me, like I'm lesser than other people. And knowing and understanding just, I don't exactly know why I am the way I am, but it makes sense to me. I have an understanding of where I fit in the world. And for the first time in my life, I actually feel good about being transgender. I don't hate myself for who I am. And I want this to be a world where everybody gets to feel that way. Because we can come up with so many new ideas if we weren't struggling with one another. If I wasn't struggling with myself for my entire life, who knows what I could have been? Who knows what we could be? Oh, also, we're human fucking beings, so maybe that on its own should qualify us as being deserving of basic fucking respect and being allowed to exist.